you are immediately judged before you even open your mouth. They got showered with more attention. There was this girl. Why is she doing this now? Because that's gonna set you apart and that's gonna make you more attractive in this society. Leverage this to our advantage. I feel like at this point, it's no secret that attractive people live much better lives than unattractive people. And in this video, I'm gonna break everything down on why this is the case and why it's so important for you as a high performer to understand this. So if you haven't noticed, we live in a very superficial world where you are immediately judged before you even open your mouth. People are looking at your physical appearance. They're judging you internally. I mean, you do this all the time. And if you're ignoring this truth, I mean, honestly, it could really hurt you. And you know what? The first time this became very apparent to me was actually when I was working at a summer camp. So at this job, I was responsible for basically managing a bunch of summer camp counselors. And I basically had to watch them and just basically be their supervisor for the entire summer. And one thing I observed with a lot of these camp counselors is they sort of gave a lot of attention towards the kids that they thought were extremely cute. They got showered with more attention. They got showered with more gifts, more praise. And it actually got so bad to a point where I actually had to talk with some of my staff and let them know, like, hey, you just got to be careful because other kids can probably see that you're giving way too much attention to these kids and neglecting some of the other kids. And that was the first example where it really stuck with me. I'm like, we're seeing staff give little kids more attention based on how cute they were. But then it hit me, we've been doing this our whole entire lives. I mean, I want you to think back to when you were in school, when you're at work, the people that you thought were a little bit more attractive, you know that you were a little bit nicer to. You know that you wanted to get to know them a little bit better. And that's just one of many examples of why we live in such a superficial world. And we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. Like, we have to understand that this is just the reality that we live in. But as high performers, we have to understand how to use this and leverage this to our advantage. And so after I experienced that at the job, I really started to understand that my appearance was extremely important. And if I wanted better results from people around me, then I had to display myself in the best way attractively. And another way that this became extremely apparent to me was actually when I was in university. Throughout my years at university, I actually was cutting my own hair just because I didn't have access to a reliable barber at the time. And there's been a bunch of crazy stories, but one time I trusted this guy to cut my hair in university. One of the worst mistakes I could have made. Nice guy though, by the way. But nonetheless, I started cutting my own hair and I wasn't the best at it. I mean, my hair looked decent, but it wasn't the standard that I was used to. However, whenever I would have breaks on my university, I would go back home, I would get a proper haircut from someone who can actually cut hair. And I noticed that my interactions between others was completely different. I'm talking after I get a haircut, I mean, women are holding the door for me for much longer. The staff in the buildings are just treating me a lot better. And funny enough, I remember this one specific time, there was this girl and she had never hugged me before in my life. She was never affectionate with me. And the week of when I got my haircut, I will never forget this. On my university, there's this massive hill. She was at like at least 10 meters away from me, called out to me, sped walk all the way towards me and gave me the biggest hug ever. And she was like, hey, how you doing? How was your break? And the whole time when I was thinking about this, I'm like, why is this happening now? Like, she's never done this before. Why is she doing this now? And it went back to me understanding that fundamental principle of attractive people live better quality lives. I make videos for people who are high performers, age 20 to 30, who are going after their highest potential, who are living their best life, who are seeking the best versions of themselves on a day-to-day basis. You have to use this to your advantage. And like I mentioned in many of my videos, I read a ton. And one of the books that really solidified this for me was actually by a gentleman named David Buss. He's an evolutionary psychologist, and he created this book called The Evolution of Desire. And basically what he did was he took a study across different races, different backgrounds, and he basically asked the question, like, what do we deem attractive in opposite sexes? And what I'm going to be doing is making this a multi-part series of where I'm going to be breaking down how to actually go about doing this. But the first thing you need to understand is why this is so important. And this is something that I don't want you to take lightly. Like, I mean, this is not vanity on working on your appearance, presenting yourself in the most attractive light possible, because especially for all my high performers, you're at that age where you're developing and you're starting out in your careers. You're looking to build meaningful relationships. You're looking for significant others or a partner who you can share your purpose with. And you know that when you are the most attractive version of yourself, you're going to be able to attract better quality people into your life. And there's stats and data to back this up. I mean, the data has even shown that people who are deemed as more attractive are more likely to be trusted, are able to secure better employment. So this is not just about finding a partner who you can share values with. It's also about your future and securing your financial destiny and leveraging your highest potential. And I think one thing that I want to make clear is when I think about attractiveness and then when I speak about this, I don't want you to think that you have to have this cookie cut version of what you think of someone who is attractive, right? The beautiful thing about attractiveness is as a whole, it can be deemed as a little bit subjective. So you might find something very attractive from a physical standpoint that someone else may not find it as attractive. Or on top of it, like, you need to understand that you were born into this world with certain characteristics, certain traits. Some of you have different color eyes. Some of you have different physiques. Some of you have different heights. But what I'm a huge proponent of is leveraging your own attractiveness. So, like, there's certain things that you can do on a base level to make you more attractive, from skincare, grooming, physical fitness. But when you take it a step further from that, I think a lot of people get this thing wrong is you're looking at this one idealized version of someone else who you think is attractive. And you think just because I don't have the same hair texture as them or the same skin color, or I'm not the same height as them, or maybe our bodies don't look the same, that I'm not attractive. But I think that's a huge mistake. And I'm a big believer of leveraging your own attractive, unique traits. So for example, for myself, right? When I was growing up, I used to actually hate the fact that I have dimples. I remember my family telling me that I would used to cry to them about this and you know, used to complain about it. I used to think that that was like having holes in my face. And then I actually understood that, and they're actually well received within society, to the point where now people are actually getting permanent dimple surgery surgery so they can have these dimples. So that's a unique trait that I was blessed with. I mean, I didn't do anything to get dimples, but I leveraged that in my attractiveness. Like, I've always been told growing up that I have a very nice smile. And I'm not trying to sit here and toot my own horn. I mean, there's so many other examples, but you have your own unique attractive traits that I need you to focus on, that I need you to actually start prioritizing and harnessing, because that's going to set you apart and that's going to make you more attractive in this society. And another thing I want you to keep in mind is us as humans, like I mentioned before, we are extremely judgmental. You are being judged every single day, whether you show up to work, whether how you dress, how you present yourself, how you speak. So why not be in control of how people are perceiving you, at least to some degree, right? I know for me, people take you more serious when you present yourself in a more attractive light in this world. People will trust you more. People are more willing to do business with you. Like, let's do this quick exercise. Let me put a bunch of pictures of different people on the screen, and I want you in your head to subconsciously think, who would you trust more? And as you're viewing these pictures, I want you to be completely honest with yourself. You know, internally, like, there's something about this person that I just don't trust. And I need you to understand that people are doing this to you every single day. And I knew this concept of being attractive was extremely important. And it's even to the point now where scientists and researchers have also understood why it's so important. There's this concept called the halo effect, if you don't know what it is already. And the halo effect basically explains that people who are considered more attractive are actually associated with more positive traits. So for example, think about that girl that you thought was extremely attractive, or that guy that you think is extremely attractive. You probably think that they're extremely nice, they're extremely polite, they're respectful. And the crazy thing about the halo effect is sometimes those correlations aren't always true, but just because they're attractive, you're associating them with more positive traits. And recently I made a video about limiting beliefs and your limiting mindset. And I think one thing when people think about being attractive, they think that they need to go and get the surgeries, they need to go and get the injections. And as I flesh out a video on how to actually go about being more attractive, I want you to understand that you don't have to do any of those things. I truly believe being attractive is leveraging the unique traits that you already have and combining that with an understanding of what society as a whole deems as attractive. Like, for example, I hope it's no secret to you, but people who are in better physical shape are deemed as more attractive than others who are not in better physical shape. And honestly, and whether you find that good or bad is technically irrelevant, because if you take care of your physical fitness, if you take care of your physical shape, you will be considered more attractive. And now that you've understood that attractive people live better quality lives, they have better access to better employment rates, they're trusted by society a lot better, they're able to attract better quality mates and partners, and really just experience life to the fullest. The next part of this series is going to be going about how you can become more attractive without spending thousands of dollars on surgery, without injecting a bunch of needles into your face, or smashing your bones with a hammer.
Did your parents really have to hide the hammers around the house?
They did. That was not a joke. I would say they probably did it like 3 or 4 times. So I had to switch to this baseball trophy, which is a pretty famous prop.
Because like, I don't even know what some people are promoting nowadays, but it's crazy out here. I'm confident with a few simple steps, you can take yourself from someone who's already attractive to be even more attractive. So that is it for today's video. I'm in the process of building out a high performance community. So if you're interested, check out the first link in the description where I'm just gathering information. And once it's ready, you'll be the first to know about it. Also, I'm doing one-on-one coaching for any of you who are looking to level up your goals and become the highest version of yourself, maximize your potential, work on your physique, work on your overall aesthetic, work on your goals, and really become the high performer that you know you truly are meant to be. First pin in the comment section is where you can book a call and we can see if you're a good fit. And as I always say, make sure to always believe that you will achieve. My name is Miles, aka Mr. High Performance, and I'll see you in the next one. Woo!